All right, welcome back, everybody, and this is going to be our first episode of What's on the Table. What's on the table is going to be watch related. So we're going to step away from the cars and we're going to be doing not only reviews on watches, but we're also going to be talking about complications, having some educational videos, and a little bit about the industry as well. So the first watch that we're actually going to review is the Omega Speedmaster Professional. So for those of you that are getting into watches and are looking for that first luxury timepiece, this will always be my #1 recommendation. So the Omega Speedmaster Professional, and even the Omega Speedmasters in general, there's so many different ones that you could choose from. So this is my personal watch. This was my daily wear for about 6 years, and I did spend quite a bit of time in the watch industry. The great thing about this watch is its accessibility, and its accessibility within the collector market as well. So when you go to even Omega's website, you take a look at Speedmasters, you're going to see that there's about 30 different variants that you could choose from. Which one's the right one for you? Well, again, that's a bit of an opinion, but I'm going to give you my recommendation. This is the Speedy Professional. So this is the one that has the Heslite crystal. The way to tell that is if you tap on it, you hear that, it's the acrylic. This watch comes in really two variants. You'll see the Professional and you'll see the Sapphire Sandwich. The Sapphire Sandwich, as they call it, has a sapphire crystal, so it's going to be a little more flat on the top, and let alone this bubble, and it's going to have a display case back versus this engraved one you could see on the back. The reason why I recommend this watch is for the history. Watch runs $53.50 at retail. Again, if you negotiate with the dealer, if you know somebody, you could easily get this watch somewhere in the mid-4s. This is really something that you could buy right off the shelf that is going to be a great collector piece and is going to be looked highly upon by those watch snobs as well. We know there's plenty out there that are going to, like the high-end brands, but this is a watch that's never going to be scoffed at. Everybody loves the Speedy Pro. My watch is from 2013, so there were a few differences at the time, one of them being mine has the pin and pipe set up on the bracelet versus the new and updated model that have the screws. Over time, these might stretch a little bit more just for the fact that it's the older style. So, you might have to replace those over time, but with the new ones with the screws, it's going to be a lot more durable. Now, this watch is a chronograph. I'm going to have just an instructional video on how to operate the chronograph, as also how to set this watch as well in a separate video. But again, this is a 42 millimeter. It's a manual wind, meaning that you have to wind this watch approximately every other day. Has about a 42-hour power reserve, so everything's going to be done on the crown. Wind it up, you'll get to the full wind, you'll be good to go for about 40 hours. Chronograph, this is a stopwatch, so you have your start-stop, your reset button, but again, we'll go into that at a later time. Everything on this watch is stainless steel. So it's very durable. The one thing you have to remember, though, this is a Heslite crystal. The reason they did this is because the astronauts physically use this watch, and the last thing you wanted to do was say, bang this watch against something. You crack a sapphire mineral crystal, and next thing you know, you have shards all over the place in zero gravity. The Heslite will not fragment. You could dent it, you could certainly scratch it, but you don't have to worry about ever shattering it. It's a lot less expensive versus the sapphire crystal. Sapphire is over $1,000 more. It's $63.50, I believe the retail is, versus this being $53.50. Yes, this is, it's fragile. You could scratch it. The nice thing is you can get it buffed. I've had this, again, as a daily wear for over 5 years, and, you could see there's going to be some marks on there, but it's not horrible. It's inevitable whenever you wear a watch in general that you're going to scuff it up. No matter how careful you are, it's going to take one time just to knock it into something. I've got plenty of dings and marks on mine throughout the bracelet, especially on the clasp, of course. That just goes along with the story of the watch. The Omega Speedmaster has more history than almost any watch out there. Going back to the 60s, NASA was looking for a watch that they were going to actually use for their manned flight missions to space. And, you had Longines, Rolex, and Omega down to the final 3, and this is the watch they chose. The watch has great durability. You could really do anything with it, except I wouldn't recommend going in the water. They've got dive watches and things like that. This watch is meant for going up, not down. Again, 42 millimeter size. It's great, especially if you have a smaller wrist. You could easily interchange the straps, especially the new ones. They actually come with a physical tool to pop the spring bar out in the back. From there, you could put on a nice leather strap, crocodile. You could get one of the NATO straps if you want to spruce it up in the summertime. You have a ton of versatility with it. Again, great timepiece. This is a great starter watch, especially if you're just getting into collecting. There's so many brands out there, so many different complications and things like that. So this, I think, is a great place to start. If you've got a timepiece that you would like me to review, take a look at, happy to do so. Drop us a comment, feel free to subscribe, and stay tuned as we're going to have a couple little instructional videos on how to operate your timepiece as well. Stay tuned.